In 1947, just 2 years after World War II ended, the United States launched the largest military operation in Antarctic history. Officially, it was called Operation Highjump, a scientific mission to map the frozen continent. But what if I told you that 4,700 men, 13 ships, and 33 aircraft were sent to the bottom of the world not for science, but for war? What if the Third Reich's most terrifying secret wasn't buried in some European bunker, but hidden beneath miles of Antarctic ice? Tonight we dive into one of history's most chilling mysteries, a story of Nazi expeditions, underground bases, and a US military operation that ended far earlier than planned, with answers that remain classified to this day. Our story begins in 1938, when Nazi Germany launched New Schwabenland expedition to Antarctica. But this wasn't just any scientific mission. Led by the German Antarctic expedition, the Nazis spent months mapping a region they claimed as their own, an area larger than Germany itself. Using advanced aircraft, they dropped thousands of metal swastika flags across the ice, marking their territory like predators claiming hunting grounds. But here's where it gets disturbing. The expedition's leader, Captain Alfred Richard, reported discovering ice-free areas with temperatures warm enough to support life. Underground caverns, geothermal vents, natural harbors hidden beneath the ice. The perfect location for a secret base. As World War II raged on, reports began filtering through intelligence networks about something sinister happening in Antarctica. U-boats were disappearing from the Atlantic, only to resurface months later with crews who spoke of the ice station and the base beneath the mountain. Nazi scientists, including some involved in the most horrific experiments, were reportedly being transported south. Werner von Braun, the rocket scientist who would later help America reach the moon, was said to have connections to Antarctic operations. But most chilling of all were the reports of advanced technology, flying discs, anti-gravity experiments, and weapons that defied conventional understanding of physics. Was Hitler building a fortress at the end of the world? Then came the surrenders that made no sense. In July 1945, months after Hitler's death, U-530 surfaced in Argentina. Its crew claimed they had been on a routine patrol, but they had been missing for over a year. Where had they been? 2 weeks later, U-977 also surrendered in Argentina with an equally mysterious story. Both submarines had been modified with extended-range capabilities. Both crews were evasive about their activities. Argentine authorities reported that both U-boats had been carrying unusual equipment and personnel, but the details were quickly classified. Intelligence officials on both sides of the Atlantic began asking the same terrifying question. Had the Nazis established a permanent base in Antarctica? This is where Admiral Richard Byrd enters our story, a man whose warnings would chill the Pentagon to its core. Byrd, one of America's most experienced polar explorers, had spent years in Antarctica. In 1947, he gave a series of interviews that would later be partially suppressed. He spoke of the need for America to take defensive action against enemy air fighters which come from the polar regions. He warned that in case of a new war, America could be attacked by fighters that are able to fly from one pole to the other with incredible speed. But perhaps most disturbing of all, Byrd spoke of Antarctica as that enchanted continent in the sky, land of everlasting mystery. What had he seen down there? What did he know that the public didn't? On December 2nd, 1946, the largest military armada ever assembled for Antarctic exploration departed from American shores. Operation Highjump was commanded by Admiral Byrd himself, with 4,700 men, 13 ships, and 33 aircraft. Officially, it was a training exercise and scientific mission, but the massive scale told a different story. Why did a scientific mission need destroyers, aircraft carriers, and submarines? Why were combat-ready troops being sent to an uninhabited continent? The operation was planned to last 6 months, but something went horribly wrong. After just 2 months, the mission was abruptly terminated. Ships limped back to port with damaged hulls. Aircraft were reported missing, and Admiral Byrd himself seemed like a changed man. Here's where the official records become suspiciously vague. What happened during those 2 months in Antarctica? According to declassified reports, the mission faced unusually harsh weather conditions and equipment failures. But military personnel who were there told different stories, stories that were quickly suppressed. They spoke of aircraft that moved in ways that defied physics, of encounters with technology that seemed decades ahead of anything possessed by any known nation. Some claimed they had engaged in actual combat with unknown forces. Others reported discovering entrances to underground facilities that had clearly been constructed by human hands. But perhaps most disturbing were the reports of aircraft losses, planes that simply vanished without a trace, their final radio transmissions cut short mid-sentence. When the survivors of Operation Highjump returned to the United States, they were immediately sworn to secrecy. Military debriefings were classified at the highest levels. Admiral Byrd himself was reportedly ordered to never speak publicly about certain aspects of the mission. But the cover-up went deeper than simple classification. Records were altered. Personnel were reassigned to different units. Some witnesses claim that certain participants in the operation were given new identities entirely. The official reports spoke of successful mapping operations and valuable scientific data. But they couldn't explain why the mission had been cut short, why so much equipment had been lost, or why the military seemed so eager to forget that Antarctica existed. What makes the story even more terrifying is the timeline of technological development that followed. Within a few years of Operation Highjump, both the United States and Soviet Union began developing aircraft and weapons systems that seemed to leap decades ahead of previous technology. The U.S. Air Force began seriously investigating UFO reports. Secret aircraft development programs were initiated, and both superpowers began showing an intense interest in Antarctica, an interest that continues to this day. Is it possible that the technology recovered from Operation Highjump became the foundation for Cold War weapons programs? Did the encounter with unknown forces in Antarctica accelerate human technological development by decades? Today, Antarctica remains one of the most heavily regulated places on Earth. The Antarctic Treaty of 1959 prohibits military activities on the continent, but it also restricts access and information. Satellite imagery of certain Antarctic regions is censored or unavailable. Military flights over specific areas are forbidden. And despite decades of technological advancement, no nation has conducted another operation on the scale of Operation Highjump. Why? What are they afraid of finding? Or perhaps more accurately, what are they afraid of waking up? 75 years later, Operation Highjump remains one of history's most compelling mysteries. Did the Nazis really establish a secret base in Antarctica? Did Admiral Byrd and his forces encounter advanced technology that changed the course of human development? Are there still secrets buried beneath the Antarctic ice, waiting to be discovered? The official records may be classified, but the questions remain. And in a world where governments routinely hide the truth about everything from alien encounters to secret weapons programs, perhaps the most terrifying possibility is that the conspiracy theorists have been right all along. The next time you look at a map of Antarctica, remember that 98% of the continent remains unexplored. Remember that beneath those miles of ice, there could be anything. Nazi bases, advanced technology, or something even stranger. The men who participated in Operation Highjump took their secrets to the grave, but the evidence they left behind continues to haunt us. In the frozen wasteland at the bottom of the world, the truth about humanity's darkest chapter may still be waiting to be discovered. If this deep dive into one of history's most classified military operations sent chills down your spine, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because the rabbit hole of government conspiracies and hidden history goes much deeper than you can imagine. From secret Nazi technology to UFO cover-ups, we're just getting started on uncovering the truths they don't want you to know. Drop a comment below. Do you think Operation Highjump really encountered something extraordinary in Antarctica, or was it just Cold War paranoia and military incompetence? Your theories might just inspire our next investigation. Until then, remember, the biggest conspiracies are the ones hiding in plain sight, buried in classified documents, and covered up by decades of official denial. Keep questioning everything, because the truth is always stranger than fiction. Stay safe.